everyone and welcome back to Velvet Moments. What really happened during today's Jikook live? Jimin and Jungkook hugged and touched each other's chin. An adorably tender moment. There are certain days when a live broadcast feels different. Not because of a grand concept. Not because of dramatic words. And not because of a clear confession. But because of the way two people exist beside each other. Today was one of those days. Jimin and Jungkook's live broadcast began like any other. No dramatic opening. No announced agenda. The camera simply turned on and they were there. Sitting close. Too close to be coincidence, yet too natural to feel staged. From the very first moment something felt warm. A comfortable silence. Small laughs that needed no explanation. Jungkook glanced at Jimin from time to time, not quickly, not absent-mindedly, but with a look that seemed to check just one thing: he's here. Jimin, as always, carried his gentle energy. A soft smile. A calm tone. But there was something different. He looked more relaxed. His shoulders were down. His movements open. And all of that came from one simple reason. Jungkook was right beside him. The moment didn't explode instantly. It unfolded slowly. As their casual conversation continued, Jungkook unconsciously leaned closer. The distance that once felt safe gradually disappeared. Their shoulders touched. No startled reaction. No instinct to pull away. Just quiet acceptance, as if their bodies already knew this closeness well. Then came the moment that left so many people completely still. The hug. Not a big announced hug. Not a hug meant for the camera. But a hug that happened because it was needed. Jungkook wrapped his arms around Jimin naturally, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. And Jimin, without hesitation, returned it. He leaned in. He allowed himself to be there fully. No words were spoken. Yet everyone could feel it. This wasn't just a hug between bandmates. It was a hug from someone who feels like home. And just when it felt like the universe couldn't be any gentler on our hearts, another moment appeared, quietly without warning. The chin touch. Jimin, with a movement so small it could easily be missed, reached out and touched Jungkook's chin. Not a playful pinch. Not an exaggerated gesture. Just a light, tender touch. Like someone checking in. Like a habit formed long ago, done without thinking. Jungkook's reaction? A soft smile. Eyes that instantly softened. No surprise at all. Because that touch was familiar. There was something incredibly adorable and deeply touching about the way they interacted. Nothing felt performative. If anything, it felt accidental. Many of those moments happened when they seemed to forget the camera was still on, when they were too focused on each other to remember anyone else was watching. The way Jungkook slightly tilted his head toward Jimin. The way Jimin laughed quietly after the chin touch, as if suddenly remembering the camera, but not regretting it. The way they returned to their positions yet never fully separated. It felt like a piece of life we weren't meant to see. Too private. Too honest. And maybe that's why it felt so powerful. There were no love confessions. No romantic lines. Yet their body language spoke louder than any words ever could. The hug said, "I'm safe here." The touch said, "I care." The look said, "I choose you even when no one asks me to." To some, this might seem insignificant. But for those who have long observed Jimin and Jungkook's dynamic, today's live was another chapter in a story told through small things. Through presence, consistency, and quiet comfort. The live broadcast ended the same way it began. Calmly. No dramatic goodbye. No exaggerated farewell. Yet the feeling it left behind was anything but ordinary. Because today, once again, Jimin and Jungkook reminded us that the truest form of intimacy is rarely loud. Sometimes, it arrives as a brief hug and a gentle touch on the chin, and that is more than enough to make the world feel warmer. And maybe, just maybe, we witnessed something very real today. And even after the screen went dark, the feeling lingered. Because moments like this don't end when the live ends. They stay. They replay quietly in the mind, not because they were shocking but because they were sincere. What made today's live so unforgettable wasn't just the hug or the gentle touch. It was the ease between them. The absence of hesitation. The way their bodies moved as if they were guided by instinct rather than awareness. As if closeness was not a decision but a default. Jungkook didn't seem to think before reaching out. Jimin didn't pause before accepting it. That kind of comfort doesn't appear overnight. It's built through years of shared space. Through long nights and early mornings. through silence that never feels awkward and words that don't always need to be spoken, through knowing exactly when to reach out, and when simply being there is enough. There was something almost fragile about how natural it all felt. In a world where idols are constantly aware of cameras, angles, and perceptions, this live felt like a moment where those layers slipped away. Where two people forgot, just for a while, that they were being watched by millions. And in that forgetting, something honest surfaced. Jimin's expressions were softer than usual. Not just smiling but resting. As if he didn't need to perform a role. As if he could just exist. Jungkook, on the other hand, seemed quietly attentive. Always aware of where Jimin was, how close he was, how he was feeling. Not protective in an obvious way. But present. Presence like that speaks volumes. When Jungkook stayed close, it wasn't possessive. It was grounding. When Jimin reached out, it wasn't dramatic. It was instinctive. The kind of gesture you make when someone feels familiar beyond explanation. These weren't moments meant to convince anyone of anything. They didn't feel like signals or statements. They felt like habits. Small, repeated actions that happen when two people have stopped questioning their closeness. And perhaps that's why fans reacted the way they did. Because it wasn't loud romance or scripted affection. It was something quieter. Something many people recognize in their own lives. The comfort of someone who knows you well enough to touch your chin without thinking, to hold you without asking, to stay close without needing a reason. That kind of intimacy doesn't demand attention. It simply exists. As the live drew to a close, there was no emotional climax. No final moment engineered to leave an impression. And yet it did. Because everything important had already happened in between. The pauses, the glances, the gentle contact that spoke when words didn't. When they said goodbye, it felt casual. Almost ordinary. But nothing about what we witnessed felt ordinary at all. Because today's Jikook Live wasn't about fan service or spectacle. It was about two people sharing space the way they always have. Comfortably, honestly, and without pretense. And maybe that's the most beautiful part. Not the hug itself. Not the touch. But the undeniable sense that for Jimin and Jungkook, closeness isn't something they turn on for the camera. Thank you for watching Velvet Moments. If you enjoyed this kind of analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, so we can continue exploring the small moments that are often overlooked, even though they are the ones that matter most. See you in the next moment.